Welcome to the February 2022 edition of the State of the Game for Tough Love Arena. That's playable right now at toughlovearena.com. We like to do this little shareholders meeting on the first Monday night of every month, where we talk about what's the state of development for TLA. Where do we come from? Where are we right now? I should have this on the screen. Maybe Amy can fix that in editing, because I don't want to do that all over again. The state of the game is where we like to talk about where we came from, what we're working on right now, and what you, the audience, the players, have to look forward to in the near and far future. So let's begin. As usual, this is the general structures of the talk. Amy always edits this part out. What happened in the past? What happened in January of 2022? We did a lot. January was a pretty crazy month. So we overhauled the initial loading screen so that you can act immediately. And now we have little spinner animations. We're going to probably look for more places to add that sort of gentle fade in. It was sort of a proof of concept. So look forward to that further down the road. It's sort of a, like, let's just try it out, and then, we can circle back to this later. Much better error handling. There should no longer be any totally confusing crashes. I made the crash screen more obvious. I added a lot more errors where they were caught and would at least provide some meaningful message for the player that they can either understand or they can bring back to me for debugging, etc. Pork was fully animated. Big round of applause for Amy in chat. I need to see some Amy appreciation. There we go. There's the claps. Yeah, right? We did a lot this month. We're just getting started. We had the birthday tournament, which had 118 signups, our second biggest tournament, I believe, and all new skins. There was a very small damage nerf to the spices. That seemed pretty non-controversial. If anything, people were asking for more. A very important for my peace of mind improvement to modding to make it much less dangerous. We're now at a place where if you are loading a mod in the versus screen or in a lobby, you're completely safe. However, if you load it in the editor, there could still be a small angle of attack. And I'm going to continue to work on that. But that was a prerequisite to making it... I didn't put it on the slides. But now you can, because I did that, and now that I could rest assured that mods were read safe, now you can download mods from lobbies. And we got a lot of quality of life improvements there. We finally added sound effects to Rapid Burst and Reject. We did some menu UI improvements to the replay menu. Pretty big improvement there in terms of being able to actually read your replays and find what you're looking for. Added the jukebox to almost all the menus. That was a long requested thing. I'm sure people get, our enfranchised players can get pretty tired of the menu music. It's a very short loop. Improved packet loss correction. These are one of the hard things that are this is kind of hard to tell looking at Discord, looking at feedback, how successful it is, because people don't tell you, like, hey, my game didn't disconnect, right? But I have seen significantly less complaints in the last week. And I'm very confident, and I do have a little bit of logging that shows it is repairing some matches that were not getting repaired before. Anonymous lobby access, great suggestion from someone in our Discord. So now there's even less barrier to entry if you want to bring your friends in and get a lobby going. Some smallest changes to Frenzy Whip Around and Chop, and I'm really proud of these changes because I think they just added a little extra flavor to the characters and their game plan and their choices without, being a huge buff or huge nerf. Because, again, I think the game balance was in a pretty good place, and for the longest time that made me hesitant to make changes. Like, I don't want to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I'm excited that I was able to find places, and I'm continuing to look for places where we can add a little extra sauce without ruining things, right? Someone says Pork is stronger. Pork is definitely stronger, but, I don't think Pork was top 2 before the patch, so I think that was safe. And I think, so much that we did. And modding features. A lot of additions to modding, especially as of like 2 days ago with this big patch that we pushed for Noodle. But there's quality of life improvements in the mod editor, in how you load mods, and a bunch of new options for customizing things. So this will continue to improve. We'll continue to add more bells and whistles. So look, if you are someone who makes or plays mods, you can look forward to that. Monthly player survey. How fun do you think Tough Love Arena is to play? That is, I think, the highest response rate we've had for a survey so far, 93. I think our previous high was 86. Don't quote me. So, super grateful for everyone who filled it out. I haven't had a chance to read it all yet because I just closed it like 2 hours ago, but I've started to read, and I already DM'd one or two people with some responses to their feedback and questions. But as always, I like to show these two graphs because I think they are my, general pulse check. They're my canary in the coal mine to make sure that we're not totally ruining the game. And this is basically the same shape as the graph was last month. People think Tuffle Arena is pretty dang fun. And the other most important slides, in my opinion, how recommendable is Tuffle Arena? And again, the shapes are the same. People are very enthusiastic to recommend it to beginners, and are more enthusiastic than not to recommend it to advanced players, which is exactly my target. It's supposed to be a beginner game, but with something to keep franchise players around. So I consider this a huge success. Let's talk about the present. After I take a sip. Also, can people understand what I'm saying? I feel like I'm going really fast. I feel like I'm bringing some good energy to the stream tonight, but I need to be careful that I don't talk like just motor mouth. Every time Amy edits these, we do one final pass to make sure everything's good where we watch it together. And I've gotten better at listening to the sound of my own voice. It used to be really hard for me. It's not great, but it's better. But sometimes I do listen to myself and I'm like, man, it sounds like I have marbles in my mouth. So I'm trying to be a little more cognizant of that. So let me know. The present. What is TLA like right now? How are things going? High level health check. The average player count is slightly up month over month. If you want more details on that, you can subscribe to our Patreon. Our monthly hosting costs are way down. That's very exciting news. And again, join our Patreon for more details, for all the juicy gossip. Farron says you have a great voice. Thank you very much. And tournament attendance overall is going up, which has been super exciting to see. The birthday tournament was our second largest event ever. And Tough Love Gauntlet, I've noticed, has been rising. We've had some of the biggest Tough Love Gauntlets recently. For those who don't know, Tough Love Gauntlet is a community-run tournament series that runs 1 to 2 tournaments every weekend, usually hosted by our very generous community leader, Shiggy Beats, also known as the Apex Collective. And they've been running this tournament series for over a year now, and it's been really encouraging to see the last couple weeks go from, maybe we were averaging like low teens late last year, and we had like a 20, low 20s, and then just last Friday, we decided to do a pot bonus. I helped Shiggy set up a Matcherino, and we had the biggest pot bonus for any TLA tournament. Granted, we haven't done that many, but it was the biggest so far, and TLG had 40 entrants, which is crazy. And I'm super excited because I love running official tournaments, but me and Amy just can't do them that often. We don't quite have the energy for it. It takes a lot out of us. So as much as the community wants to run stuff themselves and do things on their own terms, I'm always very eager to support that and promote it. And it's great to see that, they're having success with it. So please, if you ever want to run your own event, online or local or online, local, or otherwise, please let me know. I will definitely promote you on the events page, promote you on our Twitter, and of course add your event to the Hall of Fame so that your little local meetup of 5 buddies can be forever immortalized within the game. Moving on. Gameplay design. I talked the last couple State of the Games about the very small meter adjustments that have been happening around walking forward and other stuff. And after a very recent after a very recent nerf to meter gain on block, I think meter gain is back to a very good place. Again, we can always tweak this. I can always go a little up, a little down, but from the tournament footage I've been watching, from the games I've played, it feels good. I like that there's, you get to use meter, but people aren't bursting every 5 seconds. You may have noticed that we are very gradually trending damage down. I do like that TLA is a kind of high damage game. You sort of need your base attacks to be strong if you don't want to be a strictly combo heavy game, right? And I want TLA to work for people without combos. So it's important to me that like the basic beef B&B still does respectable damage, but I am trying to look for places where I can make the game a little less 2-touch. I would much prefer maybe a 3-4 touch. So the addition of defensive meter mechanics like rejection in particular and burst help slightly keep that in check, but don't be surprised if damage continues to inch down just a little bit. We are also looking for opportunities to reduce corner carry. This was a big change as of something I sort of realized halfway through last year, that like, ooh, the corner carry is getting kind of out of touch, or kind of out of whack, out of control. So that recent frenzy change actually does a bunch of nice things. It makes it more incentivizing to use in combos because I adjusted the scaling and you get a consistent like distance that's good for combos. But now you don't like land one frenzy and push them all the way to the corner. So again, looking for places we can dial that back. Some places it's kind of hard to change. I think it's important that, you know, beef uppercut, you can only really follow up with spike. So some things, you know, will always send kind of far, but we're looking out for it. And that is tied to the fact that we want stage placement to be more meaningful. We want it to mean something when you walk your opponent down to the corner. And you don't have to worry that if you get hit by one combo, now you're in the corner, right? So we dialed that back a little bit for Rice. I do want Rice and Garlic to sort of have those niches as the teleport characters. They can control that a little bit better, which helps make up for the fact that they have the worst reversals in the game. But another thing that we're cognizant of. And lastly, we're looking for more ways to increase combo route diversity, just as I was talking about. So I think just as a high level, these are the things that have been in my mind lately. And future changes in the next month or two, any other small tweaks that come up, you can probably interpret through this lens. And if you ever feel like I'm greatly violating one of these rules, please let me know. And maybe I just missed it. But I think this is a good direction to be vaguely aimed in. Noodle. Noodle's a little different now. I made a little clip. That you can't hear the audio. But I like to record little clips to show on Twitter. But at this point, I actually want to just do a little demonstration. So, just to be clear, Noodle's changes are coming out tonight. They will be pushed at the end of tonight's stream. So, depending on the Q&A, anywhere in, a half hour to an hour. But just to give you a little preview and let you know what the plan was. Ooh, this is why I wanted to do that thing. I can't show you yet. Hee. I gotta, where is it? Okay, if I go over here, I want to set the stage. I want to establish the narrative. So, long ago, in the before times. So I had this idea literally like 2 minutes before stream. But I'm sure people, you can bear with me for just a second. Okay. So, in the before times, in approximately June or July of last year, before Noodle and Rice had their additional heavy attacks, we were looking for ways to, one, differentiate the two characters, and we did this with a lot of overhauls to Rice. We added SWAT, or we added a lot of changes to SWAT, but Noodle was still very straightforward. Noodle was whip. Yes, the tail of Noodle. Hopefully, the final tail of Noodle. Noodle was very straightforward. Noodle was whip, the character. And in an effort to differentiate them from Rice and to give them something else to do in the mid-range that I felt like a lot of other characters had, 2 or more options, we gave Noodle a new move. Oh, the old versus screen. For some reason, my mouse is a pointer. So many things were goofy. Which was this. If anyone remembers this move. Old Grounder. And you could, what, like, whip into Grounder? Oh my gosh. So I was like, hey, you know, this is cool. Old Grounder. Very nice. Now you have something else to do at mid-range. It's less rewarding than whip because you don't get, like, the full combo with knockdown. That's okay. I don't need to change the frame rate. But we very quickly, and I was trying to lean into this archetype of, you know, Noodle will be the dedicated zoner. Noodle will, their job is to keep you away. They have that. They have Fist. Fist sends you so far. They can do little combos off of it. And God forbid you get up close, then, oh yeah, they're so bad now. Even though they're really not. They weren't bad. And they had this. And we realized very quickly that Grounder was not fun. Now, games are allowed to have things that aren't fun. As someone who plays a lot of competitive games, I often personally enjoy the strategies that are not fun. You know, not to call them griefing per se, but a little more out of the box, a little bit less straightforward. And I do think Noodle had weaknesses. But we are a beginner-targeted game. And something I constantly have to be cognizant of is the fact that we're targeting both beginners and experts. And although I do think that experts could deal with Grounder, and they could walk past it, or try and react and jump over it or whatever, it was just so punishing. It presented such a wall for people who are a little more beginner, a little more intermediate, that we were like, okay, this has to go. This has to change. So what was V2? V2 is basically what we have now, with some small changes. But I, was thinking, well, it was too. I like that idea. I like the little hands going through the ground. But it was too punishing when it pushed them far away. What if instead it brought them in? That's obviously much worse because Noodle wants to be the zoner character. So, what if? Wouldn't it be interesting if it brought them in? Oh, and when I did that, people were like, "Yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to bring them in." And so, although I designed this really cool move, and I kept trying to buff it, and give you combos off of it, and let you RC it and do stuff like that, and gosh, I don't even remember, like set up into like meaty versions, and it does a lot of chip. People just don't want to do the move, and this was, again, very understandable. The player's job is to find the fun, and my job as a designer is to make that the optimal path. That the fun path is the good path. And I think Grounder can be a very fun move. However, it is just so high risk because it's so slow. It leaves Noodle so vulnerable. And then also puts Noodle in a position that they don't want to be in. Yes, you can spend meter on it, but then you're spending meter. Wouldn't that be better spent on a burst? And the problem I was having is I was afraid to make it faster because it is a full screen move. So imagine if this had 5-frame startup and was unreactable. And you're over here trying to, wiggle for a little extra meter, and then you accidentally are walking forward and get caught by a Grounder into, 300 damage knockdown. So I think the intentions were good. I won't admit complete fault. The intentions were good, but there was a very core problem with this move. And no amount of tweaking, no amount of changing just little knobs could fix what was fundamentally a incompatible idea. And another thing I learned from feedback, and thank you for the hydrate. And Amy, thank you for the Prime sub. I just noticed the little sidebar. One second, I gotta take these lemons. No. Okay. Another thing I learned through this whole experience was that other characters had these special moves that really defined their core game plan because they were rewarding, and you could do them a lot. Hopkick is utilized in Onion's combos, in their neutral, and their pressure. Dash is used. That was like the core of Garlic's character, right? Rice's SWAT plays a very important role for a sort of RPS of, am I going to just chip you down, but maybe you could DP or parry that. Pork wants that command grab and can do chop in more scenarios than just a reversal. They can use it for combos, and they can use it as a pseudo poke. And Beef obviously can use Lemon in many different ways. And Noodle was stuck with, even though Noodle had more specials than most characters, Noodle and Rice have essentially one more special than beef and pork. The problem is that it was a sometimes food, right? Grounder is so unappealing that you only want to do it in very specific setups, like maybe this, or if you want a throwaway meter. And Fist, again, had a similar problem, where when I made it strong, it was too strong. People were joking about using chop and neutral. When Fist also felt similar to Grounder, where if I played to the move's strengths, it could feel oppressive. Oh my gosh, it's coming out full screen, it locks me down, it does all this damage. So then I try and dial it back, and then you could spend a whole match against a garlic or an onion and basically never use Fist, right? And I tried to give you multiple locations, but I felt like Noodle had all these moves that were sometimes foods. And at the end of the day, you just went back to whipping. So, how do we fix this? What do we do? That brings us to the Noodle of the future. The Noodle of tomorrow. Who no longer has Fist and no longer has Grounder. They're gone. Grounder has been replaced with this, which is called Trample. And once you're playing yourselves, you'll hear the very lovely sound effects. And Trample is essentially my solution for Grounder. It does what I wanted to accomplish with Grounder, which is a move that puts Noodle close to the opponent for some good trade-offs. I want to create this tension of, not all your moves necessarily have to play to your strengths. Maybe sometimes you want to get close for a combo or something. And it also gives Noodle a fast move that they can use to mash out of block strings like Sweep Sweep that, Whip is too slow to really break out of. And I could make it fast because it wasn't instantly far range, right? If you're doing it from far away, you can get hit. If you do it from really far away, you can get whiff punished. And if they block it, which this person's not blocking, but if they block it, it's their turn. So I think Trample does a lot of what I was trying to accomplish with Grounder. It adds some tension, it adds a unique wacky move, and more successfully than Grounder, it has a lot of uses as combo filler. And some unique strings in the corner in particular, where other moves couldn't combo. So I'm very excited about the potential of Trample. Obviously, time will tell. We'll see what the broader community thinks. But I did do a lot of playtesting with my generous patrons. And I'm very looking forward to Trample. I think Trample will be this extra little move that gives Noodle a little bit of spice that Rice doesn't have. And I think Rice will fall more into the I want to keep it exactly this range character. That will become Rice's niche. And Noodle will be a little more interesting than that. Especially because of Noodle's second new special move, which is the Bowl, aka Soup. And Soup plants a projectile on the ground that you can combo into, and that the opponent has to respect. Noodle can deploy 2 of them at a time. Any more, and it doesn't work. And they disappear automatically after 4 seconds of being active. Now they take a minute. So what I'm doing with Soup is that I'm very excited about. And there's so many more details, but what I'm so excited about Soup is that it allows Noodle to potentially play at range and create these landmines that the opponent has to deal with. And to be clear, they can deal with them. The opponent has options. But Noodle can choose to try and use Soup defensively and try and make space like they used to. But compared to Fist, which was this thing that if you were just standing in the wrong place, bam, you got hit, Soup is very reactable. Even when I plant the Soup right on you, it takes a while before it actually hits. So the opponent never has to worry about I'm going to walk forward and accidentally get tagged with the Fist. They have to worry about Soup, but they have time to form a game plan. And then you have time to react to that game plan, right? And we did a lot of other small adjustments to try and make Soup fair. So again, the opponent can attack the Soup, and the Soup doesn't act as a shield. The attack still goes all the way through. So they can destroy the Soup and hit you with the same move. It won't absorb it. The Soup takes a while to deploy, to actually fully come out. So jumping isn't as great an option because Noodle actually recovers very quickly. But the important thing is that it takes so long that you could just walk up, depending on how fast your character is. Oh, because I have blocking turned off, that's why. Excuse me. If you see a soup, you could try to just, walk up and block it. Boop. And of course, if you hit Noodle at any point, if you hit them, they lose the soup. However, if you try to do a bad jump, you could land into the soup. So there is plenty of counterplay to the soup. However, to make up for the fact that it's so slow, then you start to worry, well, will Noodle ever be able to land these soups? How am I going to put these soups out if the opponent just punches them and walks forward? We gave Noodle a unique new cancel that Rice doesn't have, which is if you land to the third hit, Whip Splash, you can cancel it directly into soup setup. And this gives you, if you're fast, you can actually set up like a couple of things. Maybe use this one, the first one, to cover you, and set them up in the airways. And we really tried to lean into this as Noodle's game plan. So this is why someone just pointed out, hey, that slap doesn't send him anywhere now. It does not, because because of the aforementioned corner carry. However, Noodle's anti-air, Noodle and Rice, are now different from the meats and the spices, in that their anti-air has 3 juggle points. So if you anti-air someone, you can now do bam, bam, bam into soup. And that's not even getting into the very swag combos you can do with soup. Like, oh, I need to let him block. I'm just going to show this off. I can't. Oh my god. Okay. So if you want to get really fancy, you can deploy soup mid-combo. You can set up a soup and then combo into it. You can do some pretty cool stuff with soup. So, again, we're very excited. We think soup will be very fun. But we don't want it to become oppressive. And we can always tweak the damage. We can tweak the startup. We can tweak the how easy it is to convert off of. Right now, I went a little bit conservative. You have to be looking for it. It's not like the easiest thing to convert. But I think Noodle is going to be a much more exciting an exciting character to play as, to play against, and to watch. So you can look forward to that when the stream's over. And I can't wait to see what people post, what cool stuff they find with soup. And also the sprites look absolutely delicious. Big props to Amy for making these wonderful soupy bowls. Grum puts it a great way in chat, which is that soup is like Dash. Leads to great stuff, but is completely unsafe by itself. But that's enough about Noodle. Famous last words. I think we should move on with the state of the game. Oops, nope, didn't mean to play. Oop. So just to recap, Noodle Special should now play a much more active role in neutral, while also feeling interactive for the opponent. Again, big thanks for the Patreon supporters for playtesting. They helped me find loops that I didn't realize were there. They helped me figure out scenarios that were bugged. It was very useful. And they had the benefit of being able to play with this tool for the last 2 to 3 weeks. So they're totally going to dominate in the next TLG because they're very used to it. But everyone else will catch up soon. But please let us know what you think. Give yourselves a week or two to get used to it. I wouldn't be surprised if initial impressions are way too strong or way too weak, but we'll see how it goes. And I'm very excited. And also for Trample. Trample has some pretty cool uses. So that was January. January and I guess the first week of February were very productive. We finished Pork, we did all this mod stuff, all this menu stuff, all this infrastructure stuff, and we have a brand new Noodle to look forward to. So what's happening next month? Well, not next month, but we are officially going to PAX East. So if you are in Boston or on the East Coast, if you haven't heard of PAX, it is a big annual video game nerd general conference. And we will have a booth in the expo hall, our own little 10 by 10 space with a table, where we'll have 2 laptops set up and hopefully meeting people, showing people the game, teaching people how to play, watching some matches. So definitely come by, say hi, get a free sticker, get a picture. Don't travel too far for it, you know. But this is also very tentative, you know. We are in. We have been greenlit, but this is assuming that the state of the world will be in a safe place in late April. If things change, if things turn, PAX might cancel. Me and Amy might cancel. So just be warned if you buy plane tickets tonight. We will keep you updated with all of our plans. We'll keep you updated as we know more about like our space and where we are and what hours we'll be there, etc. But fingers crossed that this happens. And we are also currently applying to other events, and we will continue to update you all as we get the news. But PAX is so far the first one that's confirmed. My to-do for February. For February is a short month, so for the remaining 3 weeks, and I guess the little bit of time before the next day of the game, I need to work on the Steam release. I kept kicking the can on it for reasons I don't want to really get into now. That had to deal with basically me and Amy made all these cool goals for the Steam release. That would be Steam unique rewards of this is why you would buy the Steam release. And then we realized, well, we're not going to get to those, and we need to finish Pork first. And then we need to finish all this new unique Noodle animation first. And so many things kept coming up first that it felt like a waste to work on Steam if, there weren't going to be any rewards ready. However, for personal and business reasons, we need to get it out. I won't get into the details, but we need to establish a store presence sooner than later. So we're looking into launching as, very explicitly early access with the promise of some Steam unique rewards later, perhaps. But we should have news about that soon. Ripple asks, are there different soup variants for the noodle skins? Yes. All the soups look different, so you can tell them apart. There is a little bit more infrastructure upkeep. I did all the major ones that had to do with affecting our bottom line. But there are a few more things that I want to migrate to slightly cheaper services and from my personal billing account to the Tough Love Arena billing account. So I do need to spend some time on that. I hope to finally get to ranked. I know it's been a sore spot for a lot of people. It's just, I'm one person. Always, I'm sure, I'm glad. I think people were happy to have, new Pork animation and new Noodle and all this other stuff. But with all of the big fish out of the way, I'm finally ready to work on ranked. I have interesting ideas on how to redo the end of match validation. That's caused people a lot of issues with, I won, but I lost points. I have an idea for how to overhaul that, but that could be quite a bit of work. And I've also gotten some good feedback and suggestions from the community about how to improve the experience of simply queuing for ranked. Because we have the, bugs in ranked that we need to address. But also just to improve the experience in terms of, queuing for both casual and ranked at the same time. More options to expand the search range. So you're not, stuck at a high MMR and you can no longer find matches. All of that will be coming out in the following weeks. And we will be actively talking to the community before we do anything too radical. Sort of nice to have. To be clear, this is ordered by priority. So it's sort of nice to have, if we get to it, is to update and potentially add more combo trials. People have always given me shit's a strong word, but people have been very eager to point out that the existing combo trials are very non-optimal and sometimes kind of, weird and janky. And my original intention was just to, show you what sort of combo routes were possible. But I think it would be fun to maybe still keep, the simple combos for beginners. And, did you know that if you caber, you can then do caber? Or if you do caber, you can do chop for the knockdown? I still want to keep those. But I think it would be fun to have, one or two really hard combos. And I've been talking to a few people in the Discord, and they've sent me some great suggestions. So I would probably just add more. I'm going to have to redesign the menu so we can fit more than 6. But, maybe some saucier stuff in there. And, again, very optimistically, I have a lot ahead of this, but any additional time on infrastructure will be working on the Android release, which I already started working on. I ran into a little bit of a wall, but I found a way through it. So, I'm looking forward to picking that back up after Steam release. So, all this said, I just want to be clear that January was a very cool month and a very fun month, and we had a lot of really exciting stuff ship. And all this stuff is very exciting for me. I'm very excited for ranked improvements. I'm very excited for Steam. But all this stuff is much larger and a little bit more invisible. So don't be surprised if you see a few less patch versions, a few less pushes in February, just because I need to take a break from the fun tasks to work on some of the, eat your vegetable tasks. But there's still plenty of fun stuff to do after this as well. And we are at the Q&A. We did it. I managed to say all those words about Noodle and still keep it less than 50 minutes. I feel so bad for Amy editing this. So, starting now in chat, I will not be scrolling back up. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to talk. Start posting them. I will freeze the chat scroll starting here. And at a certain point, I will call it and start pushing out Noodle. So, after a quick sip. Okay. Big screen. Showing off the new camera. New camera, new mic. After last month's disastrous technical issues, I'm very excited to have some upgraded equipment. Okay. Grum asks, when's Noodle? Whenever you guys want to end the stream. How is Amy doing? I will let Amy field that question, Curryman. Meep asks, did you see that Rose got the purple pepper? Yes! I'm very excited for Rose. If we all want to real quick check the current leaderboard, I am very pleased to announce that Rose, aka Cutest Waffle, is the first person to hit the I forget what this rank is called. It's been so long since we added it, and no one ever got it. The Ghost Pepper rank, the Ultra rank, I forget. It's somewhere in there. But this is amazing. Congrats to Rose and to whoever gets there next. Wilton Moss asks, how many things did you plan for the Steam release? I don't want to get into details about the Steam release because I've learned not to, say we're planning to do this and then people get their expectations up. So I'm going to keep it delightfully vague, but we were planning on new, unique art assets. And so that might still be the case. We're also looking into other potential incentives or bonuses. But of course, for anyone who's new to the stream or new to TLA, the web version will always be free. It's always free to play in the browser. I'm going to try and make that super clear on the Steam page of, hey, don't buy this. Go play it for free in the browser. But if you want to support us monetarily and maybe get a cute little extra, we've gotten so many requests to have a Steam presence. We figure, why not throw it on there and charge a little bit of money. Youngstrike asks, will you have like a channel or a forum or something for community members to submit combos for combo trials? Nothing formal or official yet, Dab. I will say when I get to that piece of work, I'm so burpy. Drinking too much water. When I get to that work, I will reach out again and give people opportunities to let me know. Maybe it would make sense to let sort of the sub-communities, sub-channels, like, nominate the best combos. But I'm open to suggestions, but please don't send them to me now. I won't pay attention. Again, like, a couple of weeks out. Hopefully by end of month, maybe in March. Kenny Rose asks, Paul, do you and Amy play Wordle? No. It seems really cool. It's been cool to watch from the sidelines. I'm super happy that Mr. Wardle, got that bag. Hopefully the New York Times doesn't ruin it. But no, just never gave it a shot. Blue Icy Dasani says, Frenzy RC is a lot more rewarding than it used to be. A Frenzy RC BNB went from around 250 damage to 330 to 370. Was this intentional? I'm personally a fan. Yes, I do want to be cognizant of, Frenzy starter as like, oh, you guessed wrong, they did DP and now you're dead. But I really like Frenzy being a combo filler. I think it's so cool. So it was intentional with the scaling changes. The only reason to do the scaling changes is to improve Frenzy when it's not the first hit, right? To make it better in combos. And the juggle change was also to make it, less rewarding without meter, but way more rewarding and easier to convert with meter. So it was intentional. But especially with the new crazy soup combos, we are keeping an eye on it. I don't know what Grum's talking about. Grum says, I don't mean the current soup noodle. When's the next noodle? Hopefully never, Grum. Fingers crossed. Famous last words. Hopefully never. Never again. How's your kitty cat? Pepper's good. He keeps climbing on this table that we don't want him to climb on. We were watching some TV earlier, and we had to pause, I think, about 8 times to push him off the table. So he's being a little bit of a butthole, but he's nice. He's a lovely boy. Favorite Guilty Gear Strive character theme? I don't know them all, so take this with a massive grain of salt. But from the ones I've heard, I actually really like Axel's, probably just because I play Axel a lot, and I like Maze because I'm a weeb. K-Way says, can we get an option to set no music for default in menu? No music for default. I don't understand K-Ways. I don't understand the request or what piece of functionality you assume to be there that doesn't work right now. But feel free to elaborate it in the Discord in future requests. 7S. Paul, have you ever seen the Japanese McDonald's chocolate fries, and would you try them? I am emotionally allergic to mixing what I consider food profiles. I love strawberries. I love chocolate. But the idea of having strawberries and chocolate is like profoundly upsetting to me. So no, I probably wouldn't try chocolate fries, even though I love both of those things in isolation. Hanson Phil asks, Paul, need any help running the PAX booth? That is very generous. I encourage people to stop by. I don't want to tell everyone to like, hey, come help us out, and then 20 people show up. So we might tap 1 or 2 people individually to just essentially help us cover shifts, because I've never manned a booth all day, and what happens when we need to eat, what happens when we need to use the bathroom, what happens when I want to sneak away for an hour and do some networking. So it might be useful to have 1 or 2 known people around, but please don't come with the intention of, I'm buying a plane ticket to go volunteer. No, if you want to come to say hi and check out all the other cool indie games there and, play games and do stuff. Shy Ninja asks, Paul, can you end the stream so I can go play the new Noodle? JK, does Soup use the fist sound effect? Trample uses the grounder sound effect. Soup at the beginning, when you first put your arm on the ground, it uses an unused sound effect that we had on the debug page, and then uses the fist sound effect for when you deploy it. And there's also now a unique sound when the soup bowl hits the ground. I'm curious to see what people think of it. It was not in the Canary playtest, so this is a surprise for everyone. Amy says kitty cat is in a blanket pile. Aw. Horse isn't available asks, do you like birds? I think birds are beautiful and wonderful and majestic. I would never want to own a pet bird. I had friends growing up that had pet birds, and they are so loud all the time. It was torture. But I love them from afar. Ripple says, hi, Amy. Koheric asks, does this mean we won't get a Noodle panel in the State of the Game streams anymore? I mean, that's my goal, Koheric. I've gotten plenty of feedback that there's too much Noodle in State of the Game. I'm trying to ease off, at least for a couple months. Kenny Rose says, Paul, did you know I got the Super Pepper and ranked? Yes! Congratulations, Kenny. We were just talking about that. I have you on screen right now. I'm sure that question was from like 5 minutes ago. Apologies for just scrolling slowly. Lord Waddle asks, when do we get to meet Pork's pet bunnies? Pork is a bunny, so like petting. When do you get to pet Pork? I don't think this question is safe for stream. Amy says, your skin looks so well lit. Thank you. Esid says, is there a quick way on your end to show if someone is playing random, mainly for online random tourney? Oh, to enforce it. Yeah, if you weren't aware, the way random works right now is you choose random, but at the moment you leave character select, it makes a choice to create what's called the game config. And the game config needs to be deterministic because that's the same information that's on replays. And so both players share the game configs over the wire, make sure they have the same ones, and then that's what you use to load the game. And that's where you would see the loading screen. However, it should theoretically be possible to at least add maybe an additional flag, saying, P1 is random equals true. And then if that's optionally there, the loading screen could indicate that, the HUD could indicate that, the replay could indicate that. So E said, please put in feature requests, track and display if someone chose random. That should be doable. I don't think I would bother doing it for ranked. That's sort of meaningless because once you choose a character, you know who you're choosing for the whole time that you're queuing. But for all the other game modes, I'm look into adding that. That sounds cool. That sounds fun. K-Ways clarifies for the menu music. You can change it, but you can't set a default. Yeah, I'm currently fine with that. I realize it's a couple of clicks. The main reason why I added the jukebox is just so that people, if you're trying to sit there and queue for a match, but you want to listen to music, you're not stuck with that theme. But that's the sort of thing, because it's so easy to change each time, and I do want to keep the title theme as like the default experience. I don't think that's worth the extra wiring and tracking and memory. It doesn't justify it to save as the default. It's, maybe someday, but the value add seems so low. Grum says Q&A over. I gotta get to the end, Grum. Sorry. Why am I bad at the Onion Rice matchup? From what side, ICL? If you are bad as Onion, I would say try to Bulldog more. Remember that every time you block a whip, they are -5, so you can at least step forward a little bit, or try to go for a hop kick or something. And if you are the Rice player, look for opportunities to teleport away. You can block Onion forever, and when they're going for a throw, it should be pretty telegraphed. So as long as you're not sloppy and you're patient, you should be able to escape Onion's pressure pretty consistently with teleport. My opinion. I'm not a top player. These views do not represent TLA balance. Lots of congrats for Rose. How do you feel about Beef's Palm? I like the changes. I'm curious to hear how other people feel about Beef's Palm. Ghost Pepper. Okay, Super Pepper. Tekken God. Will you nerf Spice Corner Carry? I actually already nerfed it once when a couple months changed how much you push your opponent by simple act of moving forward. And that did a lot to nerf the corner carry on hop kick. Beyond that, they have the same issue of Beef, of like, it's important to me that Roundhouse sends them far away so that Onion can only conditionally convert, right? If Onion does a max range Roundhouse, they don't get much off of it. Because hop kick only travels so far, right? However, if we want to reduce corner carry, then we could say, okay, Roundhouse doesn't send as far. But then Onion has easy combos. So then we nerf hop kick, so hop kick doesn't go as far. But now hop kick is way worse, and Rice struggles even more in neutral against Onion. I'm talking about Onion this whole time. Onion struggles even more neutral, etc. It's for the launcher moves, it's really hard to change because they have such cascading effects on the character design and balance. So that's why I'm open to changing these things, but it's why I haven't changed uppercut or roundhouse yet, because their distance is important for game balance reasons. Paul, do backflip. You won't. I see that request. You cannot give me impossible requests. If I attempt to do a backflip, I will die. So I'm going to reject. You get your lemons back. Meep says, oh no, I saw a camera glitch. Ooh, I have not yet. Maybe it was just a stream thing? I haven't seen anything on my sort of monitor. So hopefully it doesn't happen again. Would it be possible to get further projectile options? Oh, additional projectile options, such as on void, or keep on stage, or keep on screen. Potentially down the road. I'm open to a dabber. I try to very long term, when the important work is done and I have more time to sort of goof around, I'm more than happy to staple a bunch of more goofy stuff onto the engine. But for now, I'm trying to only add as much as what I need, because all this stuff I need to maintain. And it gets increasingly more complex how it interacts with other systems. And in fact, these very small changes I've made to Projectile made me realize I do have a serious nesting problem that could load to loading issues, where you wouldn't realize, where you wouldn't properly load. If your projectile creates a projectile, which creates a projectile, it won't actually try to load those assets at the loading screen because it doesn't think to check that far deep. And when you get into a match, it could potentially crash if the file's not found, or both players could massively lag because they try to load in a PNG. It's a mess. So even these small changes I've made already, I had to do massive rewrites to lots of core systems to make them work, and I need to do more polishing on that. I plan to push something this week or next week to rewrite sort of how projectiles work. Same behavior, but just like change how they work in the system to try and remove these bugs. So I'm very careful about adding stuff willy-nilly because it can have dangerous implications and consequences. Opinion on having 2 lemon, like RC lemon is lemon, now that it's possible to update the number of projectiles. No, we very intentionally, you used to be able to have 2 lemon at launch, and we nerfed it down to 1 lemon for a reason. It is very oppressive for Rice in particular. Rice now has, their teleport is offensive. I think Noodle would still struggle with it because Soup is not a meaningful counter option to Lemon. It's sort of like, Guile trying to trade fireballs with Ryu. You just can't Sonic Boom as much as you can Hadouken. So it could create problems. I'm going to keep the 1 Lemon for now. Do you think there will be... Kenny asks, do you think there will be an Among Us inspired skin? No. Paul knows I'm dead. What does that mean TLA on Android will be paid? My current intention, because for me, Steam is so superfluous. People want it. It would be nice to have the integrations. It'd be nice to have for the marketing. It'd be nice to have for, the easy, like, oh, it's in my library. People can see what I'm playing. Maybe I can invite them to the game. All that stuff. It has use cases. But we have a desktop version. We have an offline version. So to me, Steam feels, if not for this, other business reason I don't want to get into, Steam feels very luxurious, right? Whereas Android and iOS apps, if I can get them to work the way I hope, this is all still very hypothetical. It just might not work. My idea might fail. But if my idea will work, it will fix basically the scrolling issue, which is very difficult to fix on iOS in particular. And so to me, though, I would view those as whereas, on a desktop, play in the browser. That is the intended play method, right? That is my directorial vision. For mobile, I think the apps would be the best experience possible. So I am hoping to give them away for free. But the apps are all this stuff, Steam and apps are all very hypothetical. So no promises. Plans may change. We were originally planning to charge money, but the more I thought of them as like, if someone complains, hey, I'm having scrolling issues, it'd be really meaningful for me to say, just go download the app. It's free, and that should fix all your bugs. And not say like, oh, if you want your game to not, play like shit, give us $5. I don't want that to be the feeling. You know what I mean? I don't want that to be the experience. The game's like, not functional if you don't cough up money. That's not cool. Table Rice says, how much was Rice impacted by the Noodle change? That's a good question. Let's check the changelog. Rice, they now have better anti-airs because they get 1 more juggle point. Less corner carry, but much more damage. They both had a slight change to their anti-air hitbox to make it less likely that you'll accidentally, use up 2 juggle points with slap. So I view this as a buff. It did technically make the second hit lower, so a super early slap is maybe a little harder to anti-air with, but I think this is overall buff. And Splash sends less far horizontally. That is a nerf. And jump travels less far. That is also a nerf, but I view these as very small. These are not like integral to Rice's game plan, right? These were things that I always wanted to do, but Noodle sort of needed distance on both of those. Noodle needed the jump range for those fist combos, so I want to keep the jump the same for both characters. So Rice gets big jump range, and Noodle also needed. I wouldn't say they ever needed the really far knockdown. So that was another opportunity I took of like, hey, we can reduce the corner carry. So if I'm Rice, and I'm walking into it, it's still a safe jump, right? The timing is all the same. It just goes way less far. It does also, in some ways it makes it harder because you could try to jump in and, they can actually avoid it and like, whiff punish you or something. But it also makes it possible to actually like space a jump in that's hard to anti-air with lights, right? So I view a lot of these as side grades. But the one I'm very excited about for Rice is the fact that now you could do almost 300 damage anti-air meterless. Back to camera. Icy said I made a TLA mod that is totally about your cat, Paul. They're also named Pepper. Aww. Aww. Oh my god, I'm just now reading replies to my strawberries and chocolate thing. This is going to take a minute. I'm so far behind. Paul eating an entire meal and then drinking water because the flavor profiles don't match. Honestly, table rice. I do not drink water while there's food in my mouth. I gotta it one at a time. Grum says, getting PAX booth help. Definitely get some hours so you and Amy can walk around and do all the fun things. Yeah, I do. I really want to be there. The whole reason I'm going is to be in the booth and meet new people. But I also want to take advantage of, going there as a fan. My hair's doing something really goofy. I feel like I've been watching too much Sage-Yam, where now I just like instinctively want to do this all the time like he does. Do you have an idea of when the card boss is coming out? Haven't heard them in a while. Other stuff just keeps being higher priority, so not this month. There's definitely too much to do. I will promise that they'll be out before we ship the single player content, and that the single player content is one of our higher priority large projects, but I need to focus on this infrastructure and platform stuff for now. Is the dash sound for Noodle the unused one? It's not one of the crazy ones. No, it's not the dash sound. It's one of the grunts. Kenny says, Paul, do you think frenzy combos are like cutscene-y, like in damage but in time? Sometimes I get sleepy. The frenzy combos are long, and some of them do a lot of damage, but I'm okay with that if they cost a meter. I think you could make the same complaint about Onion's 2-bar combos, right? So I'm aware of it, but and it's a fair criticism to have. I don't want this to become, watch a movie fighter, but it's pretty well contained to meter. Bird so loud, indeed, Captain Grimika. State of the Noodle. What is your favorite type of bird? Asks ICL. I have no idea. Penguins? Puffins? I like puffins. Puffins are cute. Will you be Wilton Loss asks, will you be wearing bunny ears at PAX? I wasn't planning on it, but that's not a bad idea. Pro cosplay. Kung Fu Kafwan says, frenzy combos are long enough for me to get up, use the bathroom, make coffee, read Infinite Jest, go to college for a master's, get my degree, settle down, have a family, enjoy the simplicities of life every 2 or 3 years when I have enough money for my job, retire, do the Bahamas, and still get back to my computer to see if it's still going. Infinite Jest is good. I'd recommend it. It's a good book. Koharic asked, TLA and Rivals when? That's up to the Rivals team and or modders. Hit me up. Our DMs are open. More camera glitches. I'm so sorry, I don't see them. Is it like, please clarify for me, chat. Is it like freezing glitches? Is it like I freeze for a second? Or is it like the crazy freak out glitches that we had last time? And now I'm going to look at the stream chat that's actually on stream. We should have the most recent messages. tiny freak out in the corner. Weird. Okay. I'll check it out in the VOD. But nothing we can really do about it now. We're gonna power through. ICL says maybe we can have a character ban in lobby, so I don't have to deal with price. No, we are not Dota. Table Rice says Guilty Gear banning every character in lobby. Yeah, seriously. Kenny asks, are there any info on the TLA characters being in an indie platform fighter? I haven't heard anything from that team in a while. I know they're intending to do it. We have a gentleman's agreement that they can use our characters, but we haven't heard anything since, gosh, it's been months. Please let me know if they, add Noodle or whatever. Shy Ninja asks, please, Paul, I want to play Noodle. No one can play Noodle until we're done here. Paul helping me deal with Rice more than Wilton. I mean, if you believe that I'm good at dealing with Rice. Also, I think, a new hydrate message. Let me check. Is that a new hydrate? It is not. I already redeemed that one. I'm just not paying attention. Captain says, Onion is so much fun, but pretty trash. I know a lot of people who disagree with you, Captain, so I guess that's a good sign. I think Paul's giving the beginner basics. Yeah. First time chat from Goblin Script. What about adding a bird into Tough Love Arena, like a mega fighting bird type of thing? Probably not. Thank you for the chat. I ain't great, but kind of like the 200 ping ranked Ken of TLA. Okay. Blah blah blah. Can't wait until Hopkick is the April Fool's move. We plus some block and mix. I have some hopefully fun stuff planned for April Fools. I know that April Fools will be a lot less. I know that it's going to be a lot less notable for people now that mods exist, because I'm not going to go as far as some mods go, right? But I think I have some pretty cute and novel changes, and it'll be up for a couple of days, and then it'll be rehosted up in another place permanently. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't implemented any of them yet, but I have a notepad I've been keeping, and I'm every time I look at it, I go Ooh, there's a hydrate. ICL asks, any new TLA merch plans for the future? Amy and I are planning to update the merch once all the character animation is done. What you see right now is, all beta artwork, and we're planning for that to be a limited supply. And once the characters are done, we will make new merch with all the finished artwork, and all the beta artwork will be removed. Maybe we'll keep, pork caper, but, that's the plan. No firm timeline. Don't plan on anytime soon. Kenny asks, Paul, can you learn how to do a backflip? No. I'm too old and too stiff. I'm sorry, Kenny. You have a choice, Kenny. Either I learn how to do a backflip or you get single player mode. They're going to take about the same amount of time for me. And I can only do one thing at a time. Paul, do teleport. Very nice. Make him do chop. If someone wants to spend the lemons, I can do a chop. Wilton points out that Waddle tried to backflip on stream once. Didn't end well. I just have to land on my bed. Ooh. Too trample. I might have to put on socks first. I don't want to show feet on cam. Paul, why is that TV so high? That is a spare, unused monitor just sitting on top of my Calyx dresser. Because I don't know where else to put it. It was the monitor I used to have on this desk, and then I got a slightly better one. Goblin Script asks, Paul, add a melee hitbox. I think it could make the game a lot more complex and intellectual. Melee hitbox? Like the circles? I disagree. Esid asks, have you decided what you're doing with fist and grounder animations for mod purposes? That's a very good question, Esid, that I thought about, and I don't have an answer for yet. For the time being, you can continue to use them. but don't be surprised if I take them away in the future. Again, super long term, you will be able to get them back. I'll put them up for people to download and plug back into their characters, but I do want to be cognizant of how much cruft I'm leaving on my asset server. And if we're not using those sprites anymore, they're liable to be deleted. And of course, any new skins that we make will not have those sprites. So it's a losing battle. ICL asks, maybe you could add a reflect command for modding. Maybe. Reflecting has a lot of implications that might cause issues. So it's one of those things that's possible, but would require a lot of work, not just like one line. Paul, give Noodle melee Marth grab. He kind of already does. Reading. Much chat. Scroll. Shy Ninja saying again, Paul, please, I need to go to sleep. I want to play with Noodle. This is great. I expect to see another Shy Ninja post like every 5 minutes of scrolling. TLA microwave version when? $5 makes you immune to throws. The classic. TLA is free. TLA without rice will cost $60. Tempting. TLA on a TI-84 Texas Instruments calculator when lots of things are so. I wish. TLA has a lot going on. Chop with frame 1 projectile armor. Yes, I gave Chop frame 1 projectile armor. Right now, in existing game, it just makes it a little easier to armor through like a full screen lemon. But more importantly, I think that Pork having to hold a meaty soup was a little too hard for Pork in a matchup that they already struggled with. So Pork can now yell a wake up reversal that a Noodle could still potentially stuff by, you know, also going for a meaty whip. So it's not foolproof, but it's just I think it's fair. It's fair. Tibble Rice says, I rely on how active 5L is, but I guess I can just get good. To be clear, it will still anti-air. It still hits high enough. Feel it out. Hopefully, my goal was that it shouldn't feel any different, but avoids this really annoying issue when, you know, it accidentally uses up an RPs of the combo. Grum says, sorry, but your hair isn't nearly as nice as Say Jam's. I mean, 100%. I mean, let's be real. I don't want to spend that much money on product. Ayo. But no, Say Jam is a very handsome, beautiful dude, and I wish him the best. Oh, I saw that glitch. Okay, that was a quick one. All right, I'm hoping that's just my stream PC. If I give a refresh or try another USB port, I think we'll be good. This is a brand new camera, so fingers crossed. I'm also going through this like janky USB extender, and I have a better one in the mail, so we'll see. Looking for questions, still scrolling. Wait, making the 2 onion sprites. Tiny freak out in the corner. Wilson says, any word on Indie Rumble? Yes, that's the same thing. I've done very little. They sort of reached out and just said, hey, can we use your characters? And we talked back and forth a little bit about the terms. And then I said, yeah, go for it. So I'm letting, I don't want to backseat drive. They know how to design a platform game. They will do what they need to do. And hopefully we get some free promotion, essentially. When you play Indie Rumble and you're like, oh, who's this all blue stretchy guy? I guess I should open a browser and go to toughlovearena.com. When's beef getting frame makers? Asked Lord Waddle. Again, my DMs are open. I think I actually tried to DM frame makers like way back, like a year ago, and just never got a reply, which I am not surprised or hurt by. But my DMs are open. More than happy to talk. TLA confirmed not Dota. Let's go! Yes, TLA is like League. Joking, never. Kenny says, like in Smash Ultimate, they simply made Palutana's narration faster since it was so boring getting hit by it. Nothing else changed. That's interesting. I didn't realize they made that change. I know about the Nair. I know about the Nair and how people felt about the Nair. But I didn't realize that they made it faster just to make it go faster. That's funny. That is an option we could explore with Frenzy, I guess? It's already pretty fast. I don't know. It's fine. Paul, make a poll to end stream or not, because I want to play Noodle, but watch you too. Ask Koharic. Shy Ninja, there's the Shy Ninja saying, Paul, I need to play Noodle, please. Wonderful. We'd love to see it. Flamenco asks, if state of the game is so good for the health of the game, how come there's no state of the game? Shut up, Flamenco. Amy says, remember when Paul almost made TLA into an operating system? Yeah, thank God Avic talked me out of that. I was getting high on my own supply. Hoo-wee. I am so glad I didn't do that. Question, story mode? Asks Young Strike. Still in the works. Just the current roadmap is higher priority. Amy says, Paul, tell them how they almost could have ran Doom in the mods. You can still technically run Doom when you load a mod file. It's called arbitrary code execution, and it's a hell of a drug. Put Paul backflip in how like you did with Chop, says Horse. That's we'll take Paul back somersault instead. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I could just like do a somersault and then you could reverse it in editing. Koharic asks, no, does that mean all the beta art merch will be removed? Yes, the beta artwork will be removed. Put up a single, I was there for the beta shirt. No free feed on stream. Yep. Reading. There's just so much chat, everyone. Oh my gosh. I gotta come up with a better system of this. It's cool to read all the comments. Maybe we should just like have a... I don't know what to do. It was a really cool thing they had at my last job of like essentially a live sort of Reddit upvote board where people could post questions and then you could upvote other questions and the person just reads whatever's at the top and then marks it complete. I could check to see if that exists publicly or if I could just make it myself in 2 days. This is getting to be a lot of questions. It's wonderful. It's fun talking to you all. And I have 41 viewers. That's crazy. But, hopefully we'll get to Noodle soon. The scroll bar keeps going down just a little bit. Luma asks, hypothetically, how many characters would you want in the cast, not including bosses? I'm happy with the current 6. I know everyone wants more characters. It would obviously be nice to have more characters. But honestly, there's just not a whole lot of design juice, I think, left in this game, and exciting ideas in my brain. And every time I have an exciting new idea, I just put it on one of the existing characters. So would you rather have, 8 mildly interesting characters or 6 really interesting characters, I guess is the question. And also need force Amy to work another year of their life. Year and a half, I don't know, for all the roughs. So it's almost certainly not going to happen. And I'm very happy with 6. I was planning on 3. And then we came up with the variations. And I'm very pleased with our cast. How many loaves of bread have you eaten in your life, Luma? Oh, they're not talking to me. They're asking Luma. That's a question for Luma. Camlin's Glitch Trip. Grum says, tell us more about how you think Sejim is handsome. Be specific. Maybe in the Patreon. Patrons only. Get the saucy stuff. ICL asks, do you ever want to release TLA on main consoles like Nintendo Switch? ICL, I would love to, but I don't know how. It is... I have an idea of how to do it for Steam and for mobile. Like, I have a very good hunch on how I could accomplish my goal in a handful of weeks. So I do it, right? I have this on the roadmap, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's achievable by one-person dev team. But the way I'm doing all 3 platforms is basically simulating a browser. You are running a browser inside your Android app. You're running a browser inside Steam. And that works pretty natively on those because they already have very robust support for this way of building web apps. It's just very common in industry, so there's a lot of institutionalized support. I don't know. if I can, spawn a browser that supports, EMCA script 5 in Unity and then just dump that on the Switch, right? It could be possible. I just have no idea. And it is much lower priority because it's such an open-ended task. And I don't want to, spend 2 months chasing a dream when there's so much more concrete work to do. I would love to someday, but I don't have the team to do an actual rewrite in the way that a lot of ports are. So it would have to be this sort of janky emulated port, and I just don't know if that's possible. If there are any Switch devs that know about trying to put an Electron app in a Switch game, please hit me up. I would love your knowledge and advice. Shine Ninja complaining about torturing, all the good stuff. Lord Waddle says, by the way, I would like to thank Grum for donating so much to TLG50 so I can buy Buggy plushie. Very much appreciated. I want to have a round of applause to all of our donors, not just in the TLA Patreon, but especially for TLG50. That pot bonus was crazy. A bunch of people pitched in a small amount of money. Shout outs for all of them. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. I want to give credits. We had $5.69 from Rose. We had $5 from Hard Pork. We had $10 from Plant. We had $60 from James. We had $5 from Princess Laylard. And then we had $76 from Phil. And God, I'm going to do math on stream. 102 dollars from Grum. Thank you everyone who contributed. Obviously we're not gonna, I don't think we're gonna run a Matcherino for every weekly going forward, right? But as a one-time thing, it was very special, and we really support it, or we really appreciate it. We appreciate the support. Loomis says, if you could have a non-fighting game spin-off of the TLA class, what would anyone, people in chat too, choose? Either a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up or a dating sim. I think those are the two, top two contenders. I like when people call Shiggy Shiggy, as I call them Shy Guy. Kung Fu Kafwan says, oh, that reminds me, it'll be possible for me to actually port TLA to real arcade hardware soon. I'm happy to learn more about that, Kung Fu. I assume you mean like one of the modern, arcades that's like a PC under the hood, but hooks into a modern, and you have all the sticks, or do you mean like trying to burn this thing onto a custom like FPGA board or something? Oh, Flamenco redeemed a hydrate 6 minutes ago. I'm very behind the times. I'm getting tired, guys. This is a long state of the game. Don't you want to play Noodle? I thought you wanted to play Noodle. If we hydrate Paul, Grum says if we hydrate Paul enough, he'll have to pee, and then the stream will end. No, I'll just make you guys wait. That's what the "we'll be right back" screen is for. The bladder burster. Disgusting. Okay. Kenny says, Paul, my last question is, did you know that you are loved and appreciated? That's very kind of you, Kenny. I'm just a person like anyone else. Please don't idolize me. But it's very kind of you to say that. So thank you, Kenny. I see also actually Nintendo would deny you because they would get jealous of TLA's online feeling better than theirs. Let's go donors. Woo, donors. Oh my god, does that mean I've almost caught up? I get that back, right? Yeah, Grum, you gotta drop the 500 in the pot and then take first place. You know, real power move. I wasn't doing it. I was trying to guess how much would be raised total. Oh my gosh, Grum. Jiggy says, by the way, TLG 50 was so special. Thank you so much, gamers. 100%. Thank you for running it, Shiggy. Thank you for getting to event number 50. Take a break anytime you want. You've deserved it. You've deserved it. You have earned it. You deserve it. I swear, I can normally talk like a person. Paul, please look at the burden off topic. I'm scared too. Maybe later. Maybe after stream. I don't have any noodle. Bladder burst bait. Oh, Kung Fu says, I mean like real hardware. I got a system called the Sega Chihiro. And there have been advancements that can get to the point where you can mount custom images too soon. That's really cool. Only things that I have to do is convert controls to JVS standard and use NXDK to code it and make sure everything is managed properly with the memory. The system can either have 500 or 1 gig, so depending on how big TLA, it's possible. TLA as a core assets is about 200 megabytes, last I checked. It does use a lot of memory while running, the way it loads all the sprites into memory so it can draw them really quickly. But please keep me posted on your progress. That's super cool. I'd love to learn more about that. Oh no, Paul caught up. Throw in your last minute questions. Coheric says, Paul, if you see this not at 9:35, please make and pull. Oh, it's 9:36. But I don't know how to make a pull. So joke's on you, Coheric. Oh, I caught up. We made it to the end. Paul, can you read me Infinite Jest right now? If you want to bring it to me, Amy, I can open one of my favorite endnotes. My favorite bit is when a character, they're explaining like someone's backstory, and there's an endnote that takes you to the end of the book, and you're reading about one of the students writing a book report about this like historical event. Like the main text is saying, you know, ever since the train incident, footnote, and then it takes us to Stevie writing their book report on the train incident, except Stevie is, you know, a student. They're a teenager, so they're actually plagiarizing their book report from an existing article about the train incident written by one of the other characters we know, who's currently in, I think, a mental asylum. And so Stevie is actually reading this like online report about the train incident that Stevie is then plagiarizing and giving commentary on and criticizing and, you know, talking about how boring it is. And that itself also has endnotes that lead to other little explanations. It is delightful. I am very pretentious. Young Strike says, Paul, how tall is the soup bowl? Oh, that is something I do want to show. That's a very good point. Just for anyone who's concerned. If we turn on hitboxes, the green is where the soup bowl can be hit and negated. We call this voiding in the code, in the mod code. And the red is the actual hitbox. So you will always be able to void it. And in a situation like this, where Rice's hurt box will appear on the same frame as their hitbox, it'll check for voiding first. So I make it pretty easy to void. And also very easy to jump over because it's very, very tiny. Such great questions. Okay, since we're winding down, I'm going to start the push, since it always takes a minute. Let's start the push. Let me double check that the changelog is formatted correctly. Yeah, look at all those changes. That looks right. The date is correct. Alright. Get status, get log, get pull just to be safe. Okay, yarn bump minor, and there has been, ooh, I should also double check this. Actions, cool, test passed. We are not actually updating existing assets. We are updating combat. This will break all replays. And we're not changing the settings. We haven't changed the settings in a really long time. It should be live on the site in approximately 5 minutes. It's a lot faster than it used to be. That was one of the improvements I made, I think, in January. Again, we did so much stuff. And the desktop version should be out about 10 minutes after that. Oh, you guys can't see me on the screen. Okay, I was typing stuff. The push has now started. Paul fanboying right now. What is he talking about? God, I would never. Coheric asks, Paul, who is the mother? Beef or garlic? I will have to defer to Amy. Amy is the lore master. Handsome Phil says, David Foster Wallace, more like David Foster. Why won't this stream end already? Am I right? Beep, 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 beep. Although, actually, I strongly recommend David Foster Wallace's nonfiction. That's what really got me into him. I honestly don't love a lot of his fiction. Infinite Jest has very high highs and very low lows. But his nonfiction, his essays, strongly recommend. Consider Lobster a supposedly wonderful thing I'll never do again. They're great. They're great. Wonderful. His like 40-page essay that's a review of essentially a thesaurus is actually transformative. I know this sounds like a joke, but it's like one of my favorite things I've read. Isid said, why do you think no one played Meets at the Mystery Tourney? I don't know. I mean, a few probably did off stream, but my guess is just that, you know, the spices look obviously strong because they have long range, and the carbs look strong because they're long range, and the spices are obviously, you know, appealing because they're fast. But I think if someone tried beef and, you know, found lemon, they would have picked beef. Let's go over to the status page so we can see when it goes live. All right. I made Noodle. Joseph says, I made Noodle before it was cool. Oh, trust me, Noodle was very cool on day one. The problem is Noodle just keeps oscillating between cool and not cool. Hopefully they're back at cool. Kenny says, someone saw Noodle Frenzy and said, this is the win button. That is a very, very plausible. Phil says, don't know if you like tennis at all, but David Foster Wallace, Roger Federer as religious experience is too good. Oh yeah, I think I read that. Yeah, Phil, if you don't know, Infinite Jest primarily takes place in a high school tennis academy. And I also really like his essay about this other tennis player's like autobiography, and how like it is. I don't want to spoil it. It's just so interesting. But yeah, he's best when he writes what he knows. Like, you know, go on a cruise and you know, make fun of people. It's fun. But like the stuff about language, the stuff about tennis, that's you know, the radio one was also really good. Anyways, this is book club stream now. All right, heading out. See y'all. Yeah, should be live any second. Kway saying bye, Paul. Have a good night. And as soon as Noodle is live, I will call it. Should be any minute now. Deploy to Firebase. Let's see what it's doing. It is currently running tests. It has just finished running tests. It will build. This should take like 30 seconds nowadays. Sometimes it takes a minute. And then the deploy should be pretty quick. Crumb asks where are we getting dinner at Paxi? So presumptuous, Grum. See you later, Shy Ninja. Have a nice night, Table Rice. Howdy, what are we doing now? We're just waiting for Noodle to deploy. Waiting with bated breath. What if the stage was the Noodle Slope Bowl? Ooh. Deploy the nudes. Hopefully Fast Eddie's Pizza Subs is still there. Esid asked, did you see the car mod? Not anything recent. I think I saw way back when we first added the car, just like someone blowing it up really huge. But if there's something a little more involved, please send it my way. Okay, build should be done soon. Oh, there it goes. And we deploy. Watch the pot, etc., etc. It's not up, Ninja. Okay, now it's up. Now we should be able to go to Top Love Arena and get version 85. There we go. And I'm just going to make sure that I remember to do the graphics uploading, which I sometimes forget to do. So if it is broken, I can fix it right away. Seven says, can't wait to fight against this blue menace for at least 3 days in casual queue. Hell yeah. Yep, that was good to me. Cool. All right, everyone. Go try out Noodle. Have fun. Let me know what you think. I'm looking forward to this week's TLG. Hopefully a half Noodle bracket. And thanks for stopping by in our State of the Game. We'll be back the first Friday, or the first Monday of March. And for anyone who's new to the stream, I do development streams every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. where I just work on the game and people can ask me questions and bring stuff up and chat. And we have a good time. We goof. So definitely check those out. Come back tomorrow afternoon if you're free. And I set you free. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Thank you for playing. Thanks for all the support. I'll see you all soon. Okay, but actually reconsider the lobster.